Hey everyone, Cynthia Maynard here. Someone had asked a question about these Stampendous Frantage Encrusted Jewel kits, and this one's slightly different, but I had picked some of these up at the Sewing Expo, and there's sometimes some slight variations, but for the most part they include a variety of different materials. This is in a beautiful blue and teal and white. Looks like a wintry Wonderland mix, and it has little vials of glass glitter. Let me show you the red one that's open. Yeah, glass glitter, which will not melt on its own. So that one needs to be mixed with something else if you're going to do what we're going to do in a little bit here. This is an embossing powder that has some fine embossing powder as well as some thicker gold and black with the red. So it's a mixture. There are two, in this case anyway, sometimes there's only one, of these little paper fragments. So just little bits of chopped up paper. And that will not melt on its own. It needs to also have some embossing powder to encrust it. And then some embossing glitter. So a little bit different than embossing powder. So this is a little bit messy. So the embossing glitter, but very, very shiny. So that's what came in the red pack. It's pretty much the same in this blue pack. The purple has a slight difference. The purple has a couple different embossing powders in just one of the papers. But for the most part, they're the same. So what do you do with them? So there are different things you can do with them. Okay, maybe I'll show you this one in a second. I took some black cardstock and I just put a bunch of the different elements on top, just sort of in a natural splayed motion. And then with my heat tool, I heat from underneath. This is very important to remember because these are so chunky. It's not like your typical embossing powder technique where you stamp, you put it on, shake off the extra, and you emboss on top. This has so many large chunks, and some of them are not adhered. They need to be melted on, and they don't even really need to be stamped. You can just, I literally just spread this on there like that and embossed from underneath. So I took my heat tool and did it this way. So from underneath. And then it melts it all down. And when you take the elements, for example, the paper or the glass glitter, the things that don't melt, you need to encrust those with the glitter and the embossing powder that will melt. And when they're melted on top of it, it will hold on to those bigger chunks of the paper in the glass glitter. So, important. Underneath, and so we don't blow it all over. Ask me how I know that. Okay, I accidentally blew them all over the place. And that makes a mess. So please use your heat tool from underneath. So this one, I just did that, and then I melted it, and then I took one of my punches and I punched out a heart from it. And so now I've got this sort of neat textural, it's very gritty feeling, little embellishment I can use for whatever. It's got this beautiful black and gold and red. And then I just took the punched out section, folded it over to make a card, and stuck some gold paper behind it, or you could do like a shaker window or something like that. And so I thought I'd just make use of this. Just looks like it's kind of going woo. So that's one thing you can do with it. Okay. Another thing you can do with it is what I've done here with this bird. I just took a stamp from Stampendous. Just how you can take whatever stamp. And I did your typical Stampin' It Versamark ink, and then I sprinkled all the glitter and stuff on, as you can see here on my paper below. I've got a mixture of those things. I shook it off, and then I did the embossing from underneath. So you can do that, and you're still going to get the mix of, you can kind of, hopefully you can kind of see that. There's like some molten sort of gold and bits and glittery, and I wanted to show you what you can do individually with some of these things. For example, the glass glitter, which is little shards of little pieces of glass. You can take like a bezel, jewelry bezel. This is just a little tiny one, and put it in there. You could either use some ice resin, or you could use like Jewel It. Would be probably easier to use. You might be able to use glossy accents. I haven't tried that. The Jewel It was what I think I did with this, and it leaves this nice, once it dries overnight, it leaves this nice textural sort of druzy jewelry effect. And so that is just with the glass glitter. Of course, some black, gray, and tan polymer clay, and I mushed it together, kind of marbled it together, and then I rolled some of the fragments, specifically like the glitter and the glass bits, the things that I thought would stick out in the clay. And I rolled them into, sort of kneaded it into to combine, and then I rolled that flat and cut these pieces out, made a little hole, and then baked it. And it bakes in beautifully. So as you can probably hopefully see here, I've got these nice pieces here, and I think they're pretty. You can do whatever you want with it, of course, but I've got that's not from my polymer clay, that's from down there. But and they stay in wonderfully. They won't come out. So that is another use that you could do in some jewelry and things like that. But these kits, of course, can be used individually. You can use them together. But the thing to remember is not all the elements melt. So you have to, the paper and the glass glitter has to be encrusted with the meltable elements. And so maybe we'll go ahead and do that now. I tend to put like the paper, here's the paper, on the bottom. Here's the glass glitter, so far these are two non-melty things. Like that. And then we've got some glitter, embossing powder. And you can kind of use the back of a paintbrush and kind of move it around where you want it if it's not, you know, how you like it. And then the mixed embossing powder with the gold and the black. And I'm kind of trying to get all of that on top of those non-meltable elements. And we've got our heat tool, again, from underneath. Excess there. So not much came off, as you can see. It's all pretty anchored down with the melting bits. And hopefully you can see that. It's very, very pretty. Now, normally I wouldn't just necessarily do random things like this. But again, you could go ahead and punch that. I would wait until it completely dries. It does get very hot just because of the fact we're holding that underneath. As you can see, the bottom of my paper was just so. But very cool once you can punch it out. If you do mix them, you might want to put it in a different little container now that all my bits are mixed. And then you can just use this up and then before you go back to your bottles. So I've got my Stampendous Bird. It just happened to be using this because I got it recently and I wanted to try it out. And you could do multiple colors as well. When you have a stamp like this, you could do the red. You could make, you know, the nest and the tree the red, and then you can come in with maybe the white glitter and make the bird white, and maybe we'll try that. Let's see. Okay. And if you do mix like that, you're just going to have to be careful to see where your bird is. So, let's see. Clear blue and gold. Oh, that's really pretty. So I'm going to try to get that just on the bird. Let's see how that goes. And I am going to tip that off because I'm going to tip it off that direction. And then for the rest of this, we'll use this stuff that I already kind of... It's okay if it mixes a little bit. I mean, it's... making sure that the meltable stuff gets over the, normally you'd be doing that from a bottle or container, but shake around. Like that. And heating from underneath. Blue didn't show up very well on my gray paper, but anyway, this isn't going on a card or anything. I'm just trying to show you how it all works, but just shows you could do, and you could do a much more careful job, but you could do the two-tone with the stamping, heat from underneath, the polymer clay, the jewelry, you could, like we did over here with the card, and then just punch it out. There's different ways you can use that, but have fun with it. It's beautiful stuff, but the key to remember, I think the biggest thing to take away is heating from underneath, and the non-melting agents need to be overlapped or touching something that melts so that it encases them and glues them, as it were, to the paper for you. So hopefully that helps. Go ahead and give this video a thumbs up if that was helpful to you, and subscribe to my channel for more tips and tricks and tutorials and art and lifestyle elements. Thank you so much, and have a great day.